Welcome to MILF,
I'm Courtney,
and I'm Jennifer.
and we are two moms into literary freedom. Hey Jennifer, did you hear how J.D. Vance killed the Pope?
I heard it was a deathly handshake that he gave.
Man, that is a poorly timed visit for sure. But in all seriousness, I'm really sad that particular Pope is no longer going to be the Pope, because he was a really woke Pope.
Yeah, he was, right? He was okay with like abortion or no?
I don't know if no, I don't know about that. The one I know is that he's quoted for saying like being a homosexual is not a crime.
Okay.
He didn't say sin, right? But he did say it's not a crime, which
Okay.
I mean, what more can you ask for, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was pushing boundaries. I remember someone being really upset, like someone's being really upset about him saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, and the whole like MAGA right wing, they're all like who was that blonde MAGA lady who was like celebrating that the Pope had died?
Is it Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I don't
She's
know.
awful. That sounds like something she would do.
Yeah, I don't think it was her, but like, yeah, they both suck. But either way, the MAGA right is clearly celebrating, and they're going to use their influence to put in a not so woke pope.
I've
Um,
heard that.
or at
Yeah.
least they're gonna try, but I mean, not that it matters, but like it's just another thing that is
Do you
happening.
think, like, I feel like they don't have power outside of the US. Like they don't have that influence.
Yeah.
We're, from what I see around the world, kind of like the laughing stock.
Hmm.
Um, so I hope that they can't get their pope in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point. That's true. Okay. You've given me a little bit of hope for the next.
We'll see, right?
But
Fingers crossed.
that's just one of like dozens of things that have happened since the last time we recorded this podcast. It is so overwhelming. So here we are again.
And it's just been a week.
Yeah, and we're going to try and provide some comic relief, but also celebrate some victories. So before we get started, we do have some new changes. Like we have a YouTube page. That's MILF, the number 4 books. So be sure to follow us. Subscribe, I think is the word. Subscribe to our page on YouTube. We're still on all the socials except Facebook, but we're gonna try and change that. So it would just really help us if you followed and liked and subscribed, and where you could rate us, if you could rate us. Because we are picking up speed. We just want to keep it going. Um,
Right.
but today, Jennifer, you're going to tell me, we're going to talk about immigration, and she's going to read me or not read, she's going to tell me about a children's book called Love in the Library by who?
By Maggie Takuda Hall. And I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Sounds
Um, it's a kid's book, picture book. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, before we get into that, um, I just thought it'd be good to celebrate some good things that were going on, talk about some like victories maybe.
Hmm. Absolutely. We need those.
And I don't know if this is a victory, but like I, it goes, it does go to show it's like the whole autism thing, like people, it's interesting how how certain groups of people can really like come together and like get pissed off about a certain thing. And autism is one of them, which is good, right? RFK came out and he said some pretty nasty things. He said that autism like destroys families and it's like a monstrous disease and blah blah blah. And so several autistic people have come forward and said, I don't destroy my family, I'm not a monster. And this was all because something about a registry. Did you hear anything about this? Or
Yes. Yeah. That apparently through Doge, maybe I'm not sure, they're gonna have access to everyone's medical files and they're gonna have a registry of anyone who's autistic,
yeah,
which
which
is
I don't really know what that
scary.
accomplishes. Yeah.
Right.
Anytime you have a registry that includes personal medical information, first of all, that's like a huge HIPAA violation. And
Mhm.
second, like that's just a huge red flag. Like that's just totally unnecessary.
I also see a lot of people say, if not Nazi, why Nazi shaped? Because that is something that was very
Nazi shaped.
reminiscent of that. Yeah. So it's very scary to
Mhm.
see how they are blatantly following the same guidelines that the
Yeah.
Nazis.
And like I've seen some people are like legit confused about like and me too, where I've seen some posts where people are like, I don't know, maybe I mean an autism registry seems weird, but maybe it would bring more awareness and like hell. And they're like trying to like make sense of it. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like anytime you identify someone as different and you put their names on a list, like that's when you're encroaching in Nazi territory.
Right.
Um, but we, you know, we've seen this in all kinds of different situations. But going back to how we're going to celebrate a victory, right? And this might be somewhat of a long shot, but here's a you know, within like the past 24 hours, let's see, the HHS, which is Health and Human Services, is walking back on the National Institute of Health Directors' claim of having an autism registry, saying instead they're going to invest $50 million into autism research.
Okay.
And this is because of the backlash, partly in part due to the backlash that our country you know, put forward. And, you know, I think that this pressure that we're putting on, you know, whether it's posting on social media or holding a sign at a protest or, you know, calling your legislators using the 5 calls app or whatever it is, it's working.
Right. No, it definitely is. I mean, there's been like protests every weekend
Mm-hmm.
and large crowds. Did you see the crowd that AOC and Bernie have been getting at their rallies?
Oh man, another great thing to
Like
celebrate. They're just
huge
they're
in
bigger
like
than the
really red
Beatles.
areas. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like the Beatles, like, but you know,
They were at Coachella, or
yeah.
Bernie was. I don't know if AOC was.
I think
And
it was.
was she too? Okay, I know I saw Bernie there and I was like, holy shit, that's awesome.
I feel like AOC is more likely to be at Coachella, but you know, Bernie's just he every day he surprises me with his coolness factor.
Yes, and to think that people thought he was too old to be president. What was that, like 10 years ago now? How long ago
So
was it? I have no idea.
frustrating. Yeah, no, we still have the Bernie Sanders sticker on our Subaru. And let's see, we put that thing on there like it feels like I think wait, it's 2024. When that was that when Hillary, yeah, because didn't he run against Hillary in the
I
primary?
think so. Yes, that's
That was 2016,
2016.
8 years
Okay.
ago. 4 + 4 is
Yeah.
look at us doing math. We're
Look
so
at
good at math.
where we could have been if we would have just, if people would have woken up and voted for him.
Mm-hmm. He would
He's
still be alive and kicking. He'd
yeah.
be he'd be finishing up, you
And
know.
sharp. That man's on point.
Ah, so fucking annoying. Sorry. This is a celebration. This is our celebration.
But he's still out there killing it, and the crowds are there. They're in really red areas. When I saw that, I mean, I saw the crowds, I was like, holy
Mm-hmm.
smokes. And I know like crowd size doesn't matter, but we know it does matter to some people. And
Matters to me.
I just know that it's really irking someone that he's getting those crowds.
Mm-hmm.
And that the
So,
protests are getting so many attendees.
right. Yeah. And so there's a huge protest tomorrow. And this episode is probably going to be released like tomorrow, so whatever. But I can't go to it due to birthday activities. But I went to like, you know, 2 of them, and they were really successful in our smallish community.
Yeah.
And I know we mentioned this before, but all there was some statistic that some statistician who like actually studies this shit and is like she actually knows what she's doing. Of course, I don't have her name on hand, but I'll put it in the show notes. But I'm pretty sure it was a woman, and she said all you need is 3.5% of the population to make major policy change or to influence major policy change. And we definitely, it seems like anyway, we're at that 3.5%. And if we're not, we need to just keep going because we're so close.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to go to protests if you can.
I know. I'm so upset I haven't been able to make it to any of them. I'm either working or my husband's working, so I have kids, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable. He's definitely not comfortable with me taking the kids to a
Okay.
protest.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
definitely not allowed, even if I
yeah,
want to, which
I
I'm
mean,
not.
I'm like on the fence. Like, I want them to be a part of it, but then
Mm-hmm.
also like if something crazy happens, I will feel
All it
horrible.
takes is one car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I haven't been able to go to any of them, but
Mhm.
they're also early in the morning, and you know me, as
They're
much
not
as I want
early.
to,
They're like 11.
that is very early for
No.
me.
Listen. I'm gonna drag you to one of them, but it's not gonna be tomorrow.
Yeah, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's I have plans to, unfortunately, but I love going to protests. I wish I could be at these. And
There's gonna be one like every week because unfortunately, them's are the times that we're living in. But
right.
um, what else? I was gonna say some. Oh, back to your point about Bernie and OAC's crowds. Like, this isn't just Democrats because Bernie and AOC were associated with like left, made like extreme left woke people, but like the entire state of Arkansas, isn't it Arkansas? Sarah Sanders, the governor who they declared a state of emergency after the tornadoes.
I have no idea what that
Let's see.
oblivious here.
Oh yeah, here it is. So it's Sarah Sanders.
She
Uh
was the one that used to be the White House speaker.
Yep, this headline from The Independent says Sarah Sanders begs her old boss Trump to reconsider after president rejects Arkansas's request for disaster relief funds. Trump is now, and then here's a headline from Rolling Stone. Trump is now screwing over Republicans in need of disaster relief. And K8 News says Arkansas lawmakers ask President Trump to reconsider disaster declaration denial. He is just like making enemies left and right, and he doesn't give a shit. And a similar situation is with firefighters in California, and he's screwing them over too by taking away like safety regulations and any sort of healthcare they already had. Like he's just completely screwing them over. And those are just two examples that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so petty. Like he literally acts like a little petty king. Like if you don't bend the knee, kiss the ring, he's not going to do what his job is supposed to be, which is to provide these funds and help the entire country.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But we knew he was going to do that. And we
Yeah. Yeah.
warned
Yeah.
everyone that he was going to do this,
Yeah.
but
Exactly. I mean, and he said what he's going to do. And but anyway, the point is people are going to be waking up, and if he doesn't overthrow our democracy and become a dictator in 2028, then I think it'll be a good election year for us. But
right.
on that note, did you see he's selling 2028 hats?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I have not seen that.
Yeah.
I did
Usually
see,
you're the one that's telling me all of these things.
yeah, I haven't been on TikTok that much this week, so I'm out of the loop. I have no idea what's going on. I did know he was selling like a really expensive like Rolex knockoff. And then I did know that at the Republican convention, there was a group there like that was pushing for like him to have another term. And it was just like really weird and people were supporting it and I was like gross. So
Mhm.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and that's something that like as time goes on, obviously it's going to be more and more um we're going to find out, how realistic it is that
Yeah.
is this going to be a thing? Cuz like, at first when you hear it, it's like, oh, those are rumors or like no, each day that passes brings new surprises that we're just not mentally prepared.
I am 100% sure, like not sure, but like confident that that is what he wants to do. He
Mhm.
wants to stay in power.
Yeah.
That's been my, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been saying that since day one with him, that he is dictator shaped, you
Mhm.
know? Everything he does to me reminds me
Nazi
of
shaped.
and not. Yes. um, so none of this surprises me. And he'll never come out and fully deny it either. Like they'll ask him and he'll be like roundabout, like, oh, well, if the people want it, or I don't know how that works. How do you not know how it works? Like you're the
Yeah.
president.
Yeah.
You're telling me you don't know how it works?
Oh,
You know
yeah.
damn
Yeah.
well how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, it's just one of his tactics is to play dumb, which is confusing because he is dumb, but also it's
Right.
like he I don't know, it's confusing. Like, are you an evil genius or are you a stupid evil genius? I don't know. But there's so many things I want to talk about. Like I want to talk about well, since we're talking about autism, let's talk about the food dyes because RFK also has said we're going to have a cure by September. First of all, fuck you. It's not a disease. We don't need a
Right.
fucking cure. Second of all, red dyes don't cause autism. There are studies, and I'm not an expert by any means about red dye. Okay.
Right.
If I could choose between a food that had red dye and food that was flavored or dyed with beets, I would choose the food that was dyed with beets. But I'm not going to sit here and say it causes autism. And so did you see that he recently announced that there's no more dyes in America? Did you see that?
No, I
Okay.
didn't see that.
And guess what, Jennifer? There's no more, according to RFK, no more dyes are in our foods. Isn't that
Oh,
great?
okay.
It was
He
so
just
quick.
snapped his fingers and it happened.
Yeah. But guess what else he did? He got rid of all the inspectors for the FDA.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
So,
Our milk could be contaminated and we'll never know. Well,
yes.
we'll know eventually, right?
Well,
There will be signs.
I don't drink milk, so I feel like I'm okay. But God, that was crazy. The milk thing is separate, but yeah, I mean, the FDA has completely just been gutted. And so for him to say, "Oh yeah, I talked to the FDA and like they're like cool with having no dyes. So like we're just in a, we just have like a friendly gentleman's agreement to not have any red dyes or any dyes in our food." But there are no inspectors or
Right.
anyone to follow through and make sure they're doing what they say. So,
Yeah, it makes no sense.
yeah.
None. None. Do you know also on the September thing, him having a cure
Mhm.
in September? Um, and I don't know, obviously this is like just me curious. I saw TikTok someone saying that back in 2019,
Mhm.
Elon Musk said that his brain chip
Oh my God.
would, yeah, something about the brain chip that he has, that apparently there's already two or three people out there in the world that has it,
Jesus.
um is gonna be like a solution for autism
Yeah.
somewhere along the line. So basically I'm wondering
Not
if
surprised.
come September and the
Yeah.
registry lists
Hmm.
and the brain chip,
Hmm.
if they're all going to connect
Yeah.
somehow.
I'm looking forward to that, to hearing about that. I think that's a pretty good prediction considering, Elon is stepping down from whatever the fuck he was doing, claiming to be saving billions of dollars, which I think a recent study came out where
Like,
he was like billions of dollars short of his original goal of how much he was going to save us. And it just completely failed miserably, of course. But
yeah,
anyway, I bet he's stepping down to go work on this little brain chip of his, which
maybe.
you're probably not going to get this reference, but hopefully some of our listeners will. Is just going to be uh, a real life episode of the TV show Severance, which have you seen?
I haven't.
Oh my God, it's so good. It is a psychological thriller and it involves putting a literal chip in someone's brain and it completely changes the person, um, which is what that made me think of. So,
Well, I mean, the idea of being implanted with a brain chip sounds terrifying.
no, thank you.
Anything that has Elon behind it to me is terrifying.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it gives me major ick. I don't trust it. I don't trust him.
That reminds me, I put on our social media since I've basically taken over the social media at this point. While Jennifer goes and works a job. How dare she? Um, and I put a picture of like a few mugs that I threw. That's why I'm wearing this like weird jumpsuit. And I didn't do anything to my face or hair because I was making mugs. But I put a little poll on our social media saying, what should these mugs say? Fuck billionaires or is he dead yet? And which one do you think is winning?
Fuck billionaires.
No,
Although I would have picked Is He Dead Yet?
is he dead yet? And
Okay.
I think there might be a gender correlation because all the women that have voted, is he dead yet?
I love that when someone like on TikTok or something just says, Is he dead yet?
Yeah.
Everyone knows exactly who we're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't say names.
My sister
We
will
all
just
know.
randomly text me, is he dead yet?
Which your sister leaned more right, correct? Or no?
She leaned more libertarian, whatever the fuck
Okay.
that is.
But
But
I'm
no,
shocked, that she's also like,
no, she's yeah,
that's
growing up, like she's always been like a strong, independent woman. She's never drank
okay.
the Kool-Aid, of like she's never drank like the cult Kool-Aid.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
She's always just been like, and I want to say this respectfully, but like like most people who have more money than I do, she kind of votes in a way where she doesn't have to pay an exorbitant amount of taxes, right? And I think that was what libertarianism was for her. But also, yeah, I don't know. I think, she, like many other women, are just like, fuck you, don't tell me what to do with my body.
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, and I'm seeing a lot of people like start to come out and speak against him. Like I said, my husband was like in the middle, and I think he would say more pro Trump things to me because he likes to get under my skin. Like I don't know why, like
As
his
most
tone pisses
husbands
me
do.
off.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you get at? Is it like a do you have like a what do you call that degradation kink or something?
Yes.
Because
Oh, they
I
do.
will go in on him when he does that. I'm like, why do you do that? And then
That's a whole
complain
nother
being
episode.
a bitch. So, but now it's like that side of him is completely gone. And like, I'm like, do we agree on things now? What is going on?
You're like, hey, let's go on a date.
Right. Like we have a happy marriage now
Oh my
because
God, I love that.
yeah, we
Well,
cannot stand this man.
all that really, that's a testament to his ability to think critically, you know.
Yeah, I will say it's also, and this annoys me about him. So, whatever. I don't care if people know this,
Nobody's
but it's what happens with, I feel like a lot of people who are switching their tune,
Mhm.
they didn't do it till it started to affect them personally,
Good point.
until it hit home. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of been an issue I've had with him because even on immigration,
Hmm.
like, listen, I know that he's saying he's going to get rid of bad people,
Hmm.
but I know that to him, bad people just means brown, black, different.
Right.
Um, it doesn't mean actual criminals.
Right.
But in his head, he's like, no, no, you haven't lived in other countries. So you don't know, like what the bad people in those areas are. And, he sees videos of like these large hordes of like gang members coming our way or living in. I'm
Hmm.
like, if it was that bad and it was happening here in the United States,
Hmm.
there would be more evidence of it, not just like these like the whole eating the dogs thing, like
Yeah.
where someone said something, but there was really no video evidence of it. You don't really see it happening.
Right.
So I'm like, if that was really happening, there we'd see it, we wouldn't be so
Yeah.
sheltered from.
The 20-year-old hairdresser from Venezuela was just recently, a federal court recently ruled that he needs to come back now. So, but that's the only update that I have.
And we know that they don't listen to those rules. They're just like, oh, okay, that's nice.
Jesus Christ, I don't even know what to
Continues
think
on with their
about
lives.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they don't care.
They're not just ignoring judges, they are arresting judges. Literally as we're speaking, like as we're recording this, I'm seeing this headline that a judge named Hannah Dugan was fucking arrested.
For getting involved in immigration.
Yeah. So, hold on. Is it April 25th? I'm like trying to, yeah. On April
Yeah,
25th,
that's today.
it's today. We're doing our best to keep everyone informed in a way where, it's not too I don't know, depressing, which is really hard to do. But I don't know, hopefully we're doing it. But anyway, this judge appeared before US Magistrate Judge Stephen C. Dries during a hearing in a packed courtroom at a federal courthouse. Dugan, wearing a black dress with white flowers, made no public comments during the brief hearing. So this is a Milwaukee Journal article because she's a Milwaukee judge who apparently, allegedly, was like, I don't know, hiding an immigrant. Uh,
What?
yeah. Do you know anything about this? Because I don't know anything about this.
No,
Okay.
I really don't.
Are-
Um, that is wild. But like, do you really think she was hiding an immigrant?
well, no.
Or
I
was
mean,
she just not bending the knee?
right. Yeah, they're making this like look like something that it probably isn't. But here's what fucking Pam Bondi, who is the one who was happy with the Pope died,
Oh, she's horrible. Yeah.
U.S. Attorney General, which how Pam Bondi posted on X, which of course she's posting on X, the worst platform out of all of the platforms. She says, I can confirm that our FBI agents just arrested Hannah Dugan, a county judge in Milwaukee, for allegedly helping an illegal alien, fucking hate that term, avoid
Me too.
an arrest by ICE. So allegedly she helped someone avoid to be detained by ICE. Evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject to evade arrest. That was a statement by FBI Director Kash Patel. So, I mean, you said before, yeah, the federal courts are ruling overall in favor of immigrants getting their due process, but no one's listening to them. And instead, the FBI is arresting them. And also, I don't know if this happened before or after, but but Pam Bondi announced that any judges who disagree with Trump's deportation policy will be arrested. She said, quote, "We will come after you and we will prosecute you. We will find you."
So now judges are the target.
Yeah,
They're the criminals now. Not Trump with his what, 34 felonies?
that's literally their job is to make these. That's how they got there in the first place. Is so
Okay, so I'm reading an article that explains a little bit of what happened. So this is from CNN.
Mhm.
It says, where was I? The arrest on federal charges is an escalation in the Trump administration's focus on judges' conduct, particularly as it relates to immigration enforcement. The Justice Department has repeatedly arrested. I can't read. The Justice Department has repeatedly asserted that
Oh.
it will investigate any local officials who do not assist federal authorities on immigration matters. We believe Judge Duggan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse. Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, an illegal alien, to evade arrest. That's what you just read from Kash Patel.
Yeah,
So it says, in charging documents, investigators said that plainclothes ICE agents, plain clothes, so they probably had no identification on them,
yeah.
went to Dugan's courtroom on April 18th with the intention of arresting Flores Ruiz. Ruiz. Oh my God, why can't I say his name? A Mexican immigrant.
You of all people should be able to
I
pronounce
know, right? How embarrassing. He had been removed from the United States in 2013, but immigration officials learned he was back in the country illegally because of his arrest in a local domestic abuse case. After being informed of the agent's presence by her courtroom deputy, the judge became visibly angry, commented that the situation was absurd, left the bench, and entered chambers. Court documents say. Witnesses told investigators that Duggan confronted the ICE agents in a public hallway where she repeatedly demanded they leave, saying they needed a different kind of warrant to make the arrest.
I'm gonna go with she knows what she's talking about.
Right.
You need to listen to a judge.
Right. And it's her courtroom, her rules.
Judge, I thought the judge was the person that you listened to. That's what
Right.
checks and balances are supposed to be.
And you tell me these ICE agents couldn't wait outside for him? Like he had to come out one of those doors.
Yeah.
Do your job.
Yeah.
Right? You're so adamant about do your fucking job.
And
Stand outside and wait.
she's doing her job and she's getting arrested for it. So
Right.
these are the times that we're living in. And
Dugan ordered the agents to speak with the chief judge of the courthouse. I guess that's what they mean by her evading because she told them to go speak to her higher up.
okay.
They're full of shit.
Yeah.
I hate them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do.
Why? Oh, I remembered what I was gonna say about another celebration story because like when times like these seem so dark and we just feel so overwhelmed and it's like, well, great. Now judges are getting arrested. It's so important to just like to remind yourselves of the positive stories. And one, which I'm sure you've seen, was the human chain of neighbors that were protecting the whoever the person that was trying to get into their house and avoid ICE. Because once you're in your house, ICE can't get you. And so these neighbors formed like a human chain of like 20 people to prevent ICE from arresting this person. And we need to see more of that and less of
Right.
ICE waiting in school parking lots for children to get out of school. Um, and I don't know, like all we can do at this point is like talk about those stories and inspire others to like to do the right thing.
And this is a message clearly to the public saying, don't stand in our way or you're going to get arrested.
Yep.
But honestly, we're going to do it. It's
No.
so frustrating because if you're telling me that the 34 count felon can be president of the United States,
Hmm.
how the fuck does
Hmm.
he call out other people who have
Right.
done less than what he's done? He
Hmm.
sat there and talked about Abrego Garcia, right? I think that's his name. And how he, had a case against him because he got into a physical altercation with his wife.
Hmm.
Now, I will not protect a domestic abuser, right? If he did that, yeah, you owe your consequences.
Hmm.
And that makes you
So,
maybe not the greatest guy. Does
you,
that mean you don't have a right to stay in this country? I don't think that's it, right? Is that a life sentence in CCOT or whatever concentration camp you want to send him to? No. And for this person to stand there and talk about him being a horrible person because he beat up his wife or had a domestic dispute,
Mhm.
when he himself has those allegations from his wife,
Yeah.
like, how are you going to sit there and be like, this is a bad person? And I'm not saying that makes him not a bad person because, yes, if you beat up your wife, you're not a great guy.
Right. But you are owed due process.
Yes,
And that's
exactly.
what our country was built on,
And that's not a life sentence.
a fair and free trial, right? Even if you're an immigrant. Like we treat people like human beings
Right.
and they're owed, and that's what these judges are saying. And here you have an alleged rapist and abuser, among other things, who is the president of the fucking United States. And then you have a judge who's just doing her job, is arrested and charged.
Also, this guy also pardoned a bunch of other criminals who beat up cops
Right.
and did all these horrible things, try to take over, the Capitol,
Mhm.
but everyone else is bad. They're good people. Get the
Yep.
fuck out of here.
Her attorney says Judge Dugan wholeheartedly regrets and protests her arrest. It was not made in the interest of public safety. Um, and he declined to comment to an Associated Press reporter following her court appearance. So we don't, that's all we know. That's all that is known out there. And what from what you read, which I don't understand, like how, like, so she left the chambers and then was visibly angry and told ICE to wait outside. Because that's
Yeah, and apparently, so here it says several witnesses, including Dugan's courtroom deputy and both the prosecutor and the victim witness specialist on his case, allegedly recounted seeing Dugan, then direct Flores Ruiz and his attorney to leave through a jury door,
oh, okay.
which leads to a non-public area of the courthouse. And then apparently she told the agents to wait and come with her. So I guess like giving him a way out is what
Well,
they're saying.
maybe she did do what they said, but like, who fucking cares? Like,
Right.
ICE are the bad guys here. ICE are the ones ignoring the warrants. ICE are the one ignoring the federal court rulings. ICE are the ones that are trying to arrest and detain people without their due process.
Right. And if she's seeing that they don't have the proper warrant, did she do anything wrong?
Right. That's true. That's
If
true.
they don't have the proper warrant to
Yeah.
arrest him,
Right.
she is not,
Mhm.
impeding them.
Right.
They're being impeded by not having the warrant.
Good point. Yeah. And I mean, that would make sense that they don't have the proper warrant because ICE is at this point, it's like a lawless agency that is just
Right.
knows they can do whatever the fuck they want because that's essentially what Trump is telling them to do. Like he knows that, these people are just thriving on discrimination and racism and hatred. And he's encouraging them to just keep discriminating and hating and arresting people because they look a certain way and not giving them the rights that they deserve as human beings.
Right. So I've also heard if ICE is after criminals, right?
Mhm.
Why are they going to schools? Why are they going to workplaces to get people?
The schools is what really gets me.
Right.
And I even saw that like some sanctuary states that are like Colorado that are like protecting students in schools, like I think like attorney Pam fucking Bondi is going to come after them next and do whatever they can to just, because yeah, I mean we don't have the numbers, but like And earlier I said that there 250 people were deported on a plane, which doesn't seem like a lot, but like that's just the smoke and mirrors that this administration wants us to keep talking about, because really like so many more people are being deported without due
Right.
process and for no reason at all. And we don't know what those numbers are.
Right. We don't know. And also we keep seeing planes full of men. Where are the women?
Yeah. Well, some of the and there are some stories about women, and we don't know because a lot of these things are just getting overlooked or swept under the rug. We really don't know. And it might be one of those things where we don't know for years. Like, I don't know, but yeah, a lot of it is just
I
that.
mean, but it is scary because we're not seeing what's happening with the women, the children.
Yeah.
And then we have people who are running for Congress in California who are white supremacists and complete incels. And I'm just being general here. I'm not speaking of anyone in specific, in
A lot of them.
particular. But
Mhm.
then they'll say things like, "Well, if we'll make it so that if you marry one of us within a year, you can stay."
Ugh,
Women only, though.
ugh.
Like that's how desperate these men are for wives or girlfriends.
Oh my God.
Um, but yeah, no, like,
Said
and
this
a lot
person.
of women were like, "No, deport us. We're
Yeah.
good.
Oh
Thank you.
my, oh my. I
I
just
will happily leave."
I just keep
But
thinking,
it is scary
yeah.
wondering where these women are, what's happening to them,
And
you
I just
know?
keep thinking about like what the documentary 20 years from now is going to look like about all of this, about the women and the children that we haven't seen. Like where are they going? Um, because that's gonna, I mean, the truth will always come out.
Right.
It's a matter of when and how many people were impacted. And could we have done everything, or did we do everything that we could have to prevent mass deportations of people that don't deserve it? And
Right.
like, even if you are an illegal immigrant, like you still don't deserve to be put on a plane and sent to your non-native country.
Right. Being here illegally is like the crime is equivalent to getting a speeding ticket,
Yeah.
or like a traffic infraction.
Hmm.
It's not, a high crime. It's not like, oh, we're going to send you to life in prison in this horrible place in El Salvador. That it doesn't match the crime.
No, it doesn't.
And then you have other states wanting to do like basically bring back slavery and saying, okay, well, if you do that, we're going to find, oh, I don't even know who's doing that. I'm so confused at this point, but where they want to find them like $1 million a day,
Oh yeah.
year, or whatever.
Yeah.
Hell, basically making them indentured slaves
Yeah.
because they'll never be able to pay that off.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. That's just disgusting.
Yeah. So that's happening, and you guys need to definitely speak up. Um, I'm definitely gonna have to make time to show up to a protest because shit is getting bad. All right, so we were speaking about how ICE is picking up people, right, and how people have been deported. And so they get sent over to, I think it's called CCOT, CECOT, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In El Salvador.
Hmm.
Was watching again TikTok and
Hmm.
I saw someone say I think his name is Matt. We watch him a lot. I forget what his name is, but it doesn't matter. He said just a reminder that Auschwitz wasn't in Germany.
Yes. Yes.
And that's all he said.
I saw.
Like, and so like obviously if you didn't get it, yeah,
Yeah.
Auschwitz was in Poland, right?
I think so.
And CCOT is in El
Also,
Salvador.
which I don't know if we mentioned this. Trump paid the I didn't think we did. He paid the president slash dictator of El Salvador $6 million. That's, I mean, to deport people who don't even have criminal records, whereas he's got the more criminal charges against him than all the people on that plane.
Right. It's crazy. It is crazy. And the way people are just like okay with it is so wild to me. Like, how are you okay with sending people just based off a tattoo?
Yeah. Or
based off a shirt because Abrego Garcia, they keep talking about he had rolls of money on his sleeves. It's like printed money, right? On his
on a hoodie or as a tattoo.
that's no, I think it was like a printed hoodie of money.
Who- Like,
And so that makes you now a gangster. That makes you like
mm,
my husband is all tatted up. I have tattoos. Am
no,
I a gangster now? Like, oh, and speaking on the tattoos, by the way,
if you're
there's a guy
listening, sorry.
in Europe that they use his tattoos as part of like these are the tattoos on the um that make you a Tren de Aragua member.
Mhm.
It's a guy in Europe.
How would
Like
he know?
some of the tattoos picture because he was like, those are my tattoos. At least two of them on there. One was like a clock or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it.
Like if you have a clock and I guess it points to a specific time or something, who knows?
Oh my God.
Is your Tren de Aragua, right?
It's
Or if
it,
you have a rose or a star, that
yeah.
nautical star. Do you know
Oh,
people here have that nautical star
that
in Florida?
people just go to tattoo shops, and I know because look at my arm here, and they just like pick whatever speaks to them in the moment. They're not like, oh, I have. They're not like every 18-year-old girl. It's like I made a drawing and it's so custom. Will you put it? They go into the tattoo shop, they pick the star, and then they just get it because like that's just how most people who get tattoos. So
Right. And I mean, I'm sure, yes, I know gangs have like specific tattoos sometimes that represent them.
right,
But the ones that they rolled out as like evidence of what gang this specific gang is using are like the most
it's a lot.
basic ones.
They're lying. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the other thing. They're
why?
planting evidence. Whitehouse.gov, like the website or whatever, is saying, oh, here is the evidence linking Abrego Garcia to a gang, right? Or the gang or whatever. And it's like either made up or just like not real evidence.
Right. And so the how he's getting away with all this is he's using the alien, what's the law called?
Alien Enemies Act.
And
Yeah.
so the last time that that was used was
Here.
1941. Okay, so after the nation of Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941,
Mhm.
Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which caused citizens of Japanese ancestry in the West Coast to be relocated. And that is when they were sent to our version of concentration camps.
Right.
So I was reading that off the author's note. So basically, anyone who was Japanese or Japanese American, even if you were a U.S. citizen,
Hmm.
you were sent to these camps, and that's what this book was based on. It is the author's grandparents' story that she's retelling.
Oh, okay. And an estimated 120,000 people with Japanese heritage, including those with US citizenship, were incarcerated in these concentration camps.
Right.
And actually, I think this was mentioned in last night at the Telegraph Club.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's something. It's a dark stain on American history, which we have a bunch
We
of.
have so many stains. We just need a new shirt.
Right. So that's what the book Love in the Library is about. It is her retelling like her grandmother's story of how she met her grandfather at one of these camps. Um, so her grandmother Tama worked at the library at these camps, and she kind of goes back and talks about how George would come and visit the library every day. But throughout the story of how they met and fell in love, she also brings up, how the camps were started, how the grandmother, should have been graduating college, but instead she was here in these camps where she went and lost her home. And now they were all stuck in one room, like her whole family shared one bedroom,
Gosh.
um, or one room. It's not even a bedroom, it's just a room.
Right.
How they lost all their property, and how, I mean, the sad thing is how something beautiful can come out of something so sad and tragic,
Right.
but it does paint, it's for kids, it's a picture book.
Hmm.
So, it's not too detailed, but you get the idea of how she lived, and how they try to make a good time out of these bad times.
So this
But
would be like one of those children's like picture book that like maybe an adult would read to the child because it kind of like there's a stone wall book that's similar where it's like got these beautiful pictures and it's about, the Stonewall Uprising, but it's got so many words in it that like I would be reading that to my children.
Yes, it's definitely something you would sit down and read.
Mhm.
Like here you could see a picture and you see the soldier with the gun.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And
And is that the grandparents in the bottom left corner? Or are those the grandparents?
that might be to
Yeah.
fall in love already a gift, but to fall in love in a place like Minoka, a place built to make people feel like they weren't human, that was miraculous.
Wow.
That was humans doing what humans do best. So yeah, it's kind of showing them like how I believe that is them over here.
Yeah. And what's the name of the place? Can you like spell it or yeah.
It is spelled, hold on. And so let me show you the inside of
Oh,
the cover,
hmm.
barbed wire fencing.
Right.
So there's like a lot of imagery in here. It's not like it's definitely kid coded,
Yeah, I know what you
but
mean.
you can get a sense for it. It's spelled Minidoka, Minidoka. Some are very hot because she says the summers were like brutally hot,
Hmm.
the winters were brutally cold.
Oh yeah, sounds like the desert.
So yeah. Let me see if this says anything else here.
So
But
they
this book was targeted by book banners,
hmm.
and mostly probably because the book itself doesn't say anything. She does go in a little hard in her author's note,
Mm.
um, where she just discusses, the reality and gets a little because you don't read the author's note to the child, So that
No.
was more
Yeah.
like to the adults.
Yeah, I
Um,
would yeah. Hmm.
and it's a little less sugar coated. Still not that harsh. Why it was banned or targeted, I really don't know. Obviously,
Uh-huh.
just because people like to rewrite history and they don't want these stories being told.
Hmm.
But this is what we're doing today. You
Right.
know, it's like history is repeating itself. This is
Uh-huh.
exactly what's happening. CCOT or whatever it's called is today's version of these camps.
Minnetonka.
Yeah.
I love that she worked in the library. I wonder what kind of books were in that library. Did they say anything about that?
So I read this book a year ago.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's been a while since I read it.
Yeah.
Um, when I saw that it was being banned, I picked it up and I did read it and I thought it was a really good story. Let me see if it says it.
I want to get it and read it with my kids because like you said, it's sort of kid coded. Sort of like in a similar way that like Boy in the Striped Pajamas is kid coded to help kids, of a certain age understand the Holocaust. And I think, this is a little bit of an example of that where, they're clearly not going to learn about it in school. And they're clearly not going to be able to draw parallels between how brown people are being treated now versus how Asians were treated. Because it wasn't just Japanese, it was anyone that had Asian heritage, which is where
Right.
last night in the Telegraph Club comes into play because that was a story about a Korean girl, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Basically anyone who fit, same thing like with Hispanics, anyone who looks Hispanic, anyone who looks brown, anyone
Hmm.
who looks black,
Hmm.
we're all targets just based on what we look like.
Right. And you're not even brown. Like,
No, right. I know that I'm white passing.
well, I don't even think you're white passing. Like, I would look at you and say, oh, yeah, she looks like she's from a South
Right.
American country.
But some people don't know. I have a lot of people when I speak Spanish, or they're like, "Oh, you speak Spanish?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I feel like I look Hispanic.
Right.
I toe that line where
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be driving by in a car and a cop is gonna be like, "Oh, she's
Hmm.
super brown. I'm gonna stop her."
Right.
Versus I know that there's other people in my culture who definitely, there's no doubt that you're Hispanic,
Hmm.
or that you're not white.
Right. 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 Not white. Ugh.
It's
Yeah.
and I don't like to be called white passing or having to put white because to me, you're white.
Yes, I'm very white.
So
I,
I'm like,
I'm whitey.
and while I can relate to you on like female things
Right.
and how we vote and things like that, culturally, we are very different.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's weird to be like lumped in with white people, especially because growing up, I was never
Yeah.
by white people considered white. So
Right.
like it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine how weird it is. Yeah. Intersectionality is like such an interesting thing to me that I would love to talk more about. But what is that?
I'm trying to see if it'll get the
Oh
picture.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, they have tags around their necks
Yeah, you see all their numbers, and that's them boarding the train to go. There
to
goes me doing
Manitoba.
my nails done. Let's
Min-
ignore that.
I didn't notice. To Minidoka, right?
Minidoka, yeah. So this is Tama and George had been in Minidoka for a year already. She should have graduated college the previous summer, but instead, Tama was here. All the Japanese Americans from the West Coast were in prison camps like Minidoka. Elderly people, children, babies. It didn't matter who you were, just what you were. And being Japanese American then was treated like a crime. And though each camp was different, they were all the same, uncomfortable and unjust.
Wow. That's a great line to read too, that sort of like gives you like a good idea of like what this book is about and like, why it's probably going to be banned in Florida if this bill passes, this most recent bill.
Which one now?
First of all, Minidoka is in Idaho. I just looked it up.
Okay.
And it was one of several, but yeah. But so the most recent bill, it's like an expansion of one of, the original book banning bill. It's just an expansion of that. It looks like it's going to pass, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
it's basically going to deem all libraries as like government property, right? And everything will be banned at this point. Like,
So not just school libraries, but public libraries.
no, I think it's just school libraries, honestly,
Okay.
at this point. But if it's not public libraries, then I'm sure that'll be next. I'm trying to find the information that I saved to talk about it, but of course I can. There's so many things that I saved.
Right.
It's so hard to find, but um,
Public libraries, they're in jeopardy right now too, because they're losing their
all their
funding.
money. Yeah.
If you don't have a library card, now is the time to get one.
Mhm.
Now is the time to reach out to your representatives and tell them that you want your libraries fully funded,
Yep.
um,
And
because they ask.
how you can do that is just downloading the Five Calls app. They not every issue is in that app, but this one, at least in Florida, is. And you can talk about, like Jennifer said, the libraries and how you want them to be funded, and the school libraries and how you don't want them to be deemed government property. The Florida House passed a bill on Thursday, yesterday, that opponents warn will dramatically increase book removals, including classic literature. So we're talking like anything written by Toni Morrison or Maya Angelou, of course, but even white authors.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
But yeah, it's HB 1539. And I actually called, I called a few of the legislators on the book banning committee or on this bill committee.
Yeah,
Like 20 of them. I called like 10 of them, but it still passed. It went through committee and then it passed again. So I
yeah.
don't I don't think it's official yet, but it's looking like it will be.
And here's the thing, with the libraries not being funded.
Hmm.
Um, so my neighbor is very pro-Trump. But he's a nice guy, and my husband gets along with him. So I don't say I keep my mouth shut.
Uh, well,
But
yeah,
I did
yeah.
comment the other day when I was out there. I was like, "Oh yeah, libraries are losing funding, and I'm really pissed about that." That's all I said, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but who uses libraries anyways, right? And so I was
God.
like, "Well, I do." And so I get the impression that a lot of people don't realize that libraries are more than just checking out books.
Yeah.
It's all they offer. They have programs for your children. They teach you how to use computers. They help people find jobs. It's not just the books at the library, but they also have a huge catalog of audiobooks and
Hmm.
ebooks that you can um, check out without even having to go to the library. You just download their app or have the Libby app, and that Libby app is losing its funding. So
Hmm.
access to ebooks are going away, our access to audiobooks are going away. So if you have no idea, and hopefully if you're listening to this podcast, you do have a library card, you do care about books. But if you don't, go get your library card,
Hmm.
go see what
They have to
program,
offer. Yeah.
yeah, they have to offer. Because my kids go there, they have Dungeons and Dragons meeting,
Yeah.
they have cooking club, they
Book
have mystery
club.
club, they
Yeah.
have regular book club, they have game night where
Hmm.
you go and play board games with other kids. They have
Hmm.
game days where you can go and play like Nintendo Switch or other games with a group of other kids. So
Hmm. And they have a lot of things for like babies too.
yes,
like story time and pause to read where they bring dogs in and you can like read to the dogs. Like in this in this library that we're talking about, it's like it's clean, it's new, it's like welcoming, it's comfortable, and it's free.
Yeah, everything's free. And it's not just for kids because they just had a class, a sourdough starter class.
Did you
Had
take it?
I was going to, and then my daughter had to work because we were going to do it together
Oh
because she wants
yeah.
to start making sourdough. And
Yeah.
so they have gardening classes.
Oh, that's cool.
They ha- so it's not just for kids, like adults too. They have classes. They have writing clubs for
This
adults.
but Jennifer, this is just way too woke for me. Okay. Like this is like the demise of our youth. It's going, do you know what will happen if people start making sourdough? That's the
Right.
devil. It's the devil's dough. Okay. So we can't have it. We can't have nice.
Yeah. We
Okay.
can't have nice things. No.
No.
Yeah. So, but no, seriously, if you have a library card, go
Mhm.
check out a book. Even if you're not going to read it, just check it out and
Yeah.
bring it back a couple of days later
Yeah.
because they need those numbers to show that people do continue to read. I read a lot of books constantly. I'm always reading.
Hmm.
And so I'm also a bit of a snob and I like to buy books.
Me too. As you can see behind me, if you're
Right.
listening, check us out on YouTube. You can see all the things we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't have my
My
library behind me right now, but it is
You need to
stocked.
get your podcast set up in front of your books because your books are way prettier than my books.
Well, I just bought 4 new shelves.
Okay.
And so once I have them built, I'll be back there.
We need to be recording you in front of that because it's awesome.
It'll be set up soon, hopefully. Right now it's just a clusterfuck back there. But so yeah, a lot of times I don't need the library in that sense. But
Hmm.
I'll still go and I'll check out a book, even
Hmm.
if I already have it, because I'm like, this is the book
Oh,
that I
that's smart.
I
That's
know that I want, I wanted to show that it helps the authors as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, just go check out books
I
and read.
will.
Damn it, read them. Don't just check them out. Read them.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I got all of my kids' library cards because they were like, we want something to put in our wallet. So they each have their own little library.
Yeah,
They check it out themselves. So it helps, it helps prove that there's a need. But I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure how much it's going to help because Trump's just going to do what he wants to do.
yeah. Unfortunately, but I mean, again, would you say 3.5%
Yeah.
is all that's needed?
But going back to what you said, I think it's going to take like defunding the libraries for people to be like, wait a second, I want to make sourdough and I can't do that now. Or,
Right.
I want a
But
book on sourdough.
a lot of people are like, well, I don't go to the library, so it's not needed.
Hmm.
Not realizing all the resources that they do provide to other people. Like,
So,
again, it goes back to if it doesn't affect you personally, it
hmm.
doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And so I kind of looked at my neighbor that time and I was like, well, I like the library.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
know, if you don't like going, okay, but I do, and
Hmm.
other people do. So we should be fighting to keep it.
For sure. And it's not the devil's library. Like why are we so against libraries? And I know that the real answer is because, information is power, knowledge is power. And that is what, authoritarian governments like the one that we're developing into is wants. And we've seen this in Nazi Germany. We're seeing this now is like we want to take information away from the people and that will give them more power over us. And that's why they're defunding public schools, they're defunding public libraries. And that's why it's so important for us to get on the phone, get on 5 Calls app, and tell our legislators that this is not what we want. Have you heard that song, Barefoot and Pregnant? Um,
No,
by
heard the term, but not the song.
Gwen Levy. Gwen Levy. I'll put it in the show notes, but it's a parody song and it's really good. And I put it as music to the pottery post that I was
Okay.
and it's just a parody song that is bringing awareness to what's going, the future of our country being like a real life episode or of The Handmaid's Tale. um
Yeah, every day we inch closer to that. Did
uh-huh.
you see, speaking on The Handmaid's Tale, I know we're stretching this out
I
longer than
know there's way too
but
much to talk about. Yeah.
his whole new like birth plan thing.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh fuck.
So
I
my
was
daughter, right? She was like, she's the one that sent it to me. And
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna start popping babies out.
No,
I was in a kid, right? I said, girl, that won't even cover
no,
the hospital bill. Like
no.
not even the hospital bill.
Do you remember when Kamala was like, child tax credit, $6,000, and that's every year because it's a tax thing. And the whole right was like, that's socialism. But now
Right.
Trump's like, hey, have a baby. I'll give you a one-time, prize of $5,000, which you're right, would not even cover, even with the best health insurance, will not cover your entire hospital bill. You
Yeah.
have to do a
It
home birth to make it worth it.
does nothing. Like, give me a break.
Don't do a home birth. I am not promoting home births. But we got to talk. We have to, I think our next episode should be about like that sex ed book that I bought.
Okay.
And then we can talk more about like the future of feminism in this country and, you know, baby making and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah, let's do that.
let's do it. All right.
Right.
That'll be our next episode. If those of you are still listening and you want to know what we're going to talk about next, we're going to talk about baby making in our next episode. So
Ooh.
be
I
sure
read
to
a
check
lot
us
of
out.
spicy books. I'll bring some recommendations
Oh, yeah.
to get you going.
It's all connected. It's all connected. I love it. All right. Well, I mean, I was going to say I don't have anything else, but I do. I have dozens of things that we could talk about, but I think we should end it because
Yeah.
we need a break
Yeah.
from Courtney and Jennifer talking at you about the state of our world.
Yeah. It's been
So,
long enough.
but yeah, thanks for listening and don't ban books.
Ban bigots. This episode has been engineered and mixed by your hosts, Jennifer and Courtney.
You can listen to the Milford Books podcast on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, or literally any podcast app you want.
If you want to watch a podcast, check out our Milford Books YouTube page. That's MILF, the number 4, books. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Follow the show on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and Blue Sky at MILF for Books. Again, that's MILF, the number 4, books. But follow us on TikTok at Moms Until Literary Freedom.
Thanks for listening.